MMA Fighting presents Timeline, Amanda Nunes vs. Ronda Rousey. November 18th, 2011. After winning her first fight in Strikeforce in under 30 seconds, Ronda Rousey is set to face top featherweight prospect Julia Budd as the co-main event on a Strikeforce Challengers card.
You're fighting Julia Budd. She's a tough fighter, sort of at the same, experience level as you. Where do you think that you have the edge over her?
Well, I actually completely disagree with you. I don't think she has anywhere near the same experience level as me. I mean, she's 7-1 Muay Thai, 2-0 in boxing, and 2-1 in MMA. So she's competed 13 times in her life, where I've competed thousands of times in my life. I mean, when I was a kid, I was competing in 3 divisions a weekend, just doing match after match after match. So I feel like my experience is a big advantage that I have over her.
All right, so what's the sort of time frame that you're looking at here? You've got this fight on November 18th. Finally, Cyborg is coming back in December. We haven't seen her in a very long time. How many fights away? Because the 145-pound division in Strikeforce, a couple fights away, and you're in the mix all of a sudden. So how many fights away do you think you are from really being a contender?
You know what? I've only been doing MMA for 1 year. I've had 6 fights in 12 months.
I thought you had all this experience.
I have all this experience, in competition, not in MMA. But I would like to have like 5 or 6 professional fights before I went for a title, and Tate did kind of call me out on Twitter, so I'm considering getting some extra fights down to 135 and slapping that title out of her hand first and then grabbing the other one second and hopefully unifying the 2 divisions.
Would you want to even go down to 135?
I think it'd be a nice move to have 2 belts. I think that'd be awesome.
Rousey wins by armbar in just 39 seconds. March 3rd, 2012, Strikeforce Tate vs. Rousey. Now 2-0 in Strikeforce, 4-0 overall, with every victory by armbar under a minute, Rousey is matched up against Strikeforce bantamweight champion Tate.
What about the newfound fame? What about all this going to your head? You say that you've grown up with your mother was a psychologist, right? Or had a doctorate. So how do you not let that get to your head?
Well, I have a very close-knit, group of people around me when I'm home. So it's when I come to these events, I feel like I'm well known within a group of people, but within MMA fans. But in general, I'm not a celebrity. I don't walk around and get recognized all day long. So when I'm home, I'm kind of away from all of that, and I have more interviews and stuff like that to do. But in general, I don't think that much has changed. I train all day, I sleep all night, and I do interviews when I can. And when I come over here, I get to feel, pretty and important. But then I go home and everyone's like, stop thinking you're pretty and important. Stop having a big ego. Shut up and go train and change cat litter. So everyone keeps me in check.
and Ronda, obviously, there's no love lost between you and Misha. Do you have any respect for what she has done?
Yeah, she's a champ for a reason, but I don't really have much respect for the inconsistency of her comments. One day she's like, oh yeah, I totally respect your Olympic medal, and another day she's like, oh yeah, it's not a legitimate medal. Or like one day she's like, oh, she's only getting the title shot because she's pretty, and then she's like, oh well, and she's only getting the title shot because she talked her way into it. And then before that she's like, oh well, it should just be about your record and just how you fight and nothing else. But then at the same time she's got a picture of herself in booty shorts on her page, and then several months later she changes her mind and says, oh no, it's the entertainment business. So I don't have much respect for the inconsistency of her attitude. It seems to kind of reflect that she has a little bit of a weak personality, but the way that she fights, yeah, she's well-rounded. She's cool.
I think that she needs to maybe do her research, because a lot of the things she just misquoted me. The media has a great way of twisting things, and a lot of what she just said was completely inaccurate. I've been consistent about my comments with her, so maybe she should go watch some of my interviews.
I do watch your interviews. You don't watch mine, remember? That's what you said on HDNet. Or maybe you do. You want to change your mind on that too? But I don't care why people are watching my fights. I look at YouTube comments. Some people watch the fights because it's the only time they get to see women's bare feet. I don't care. I just care that there's ratings. I don't need to know personally why every person's watching. I don't need to sit down with every person watching and be like, oh, are you watching because they're cute, or are you watching because they're good fighters, or are you watching because you like to smack talk, or are you watching because you like Misha's really neon green shorts, or I don't know. I don't care why they're watching. I care that they are watching, and it's building a profile for all of us. And, people watch the guys for different reasons too. Some people think George St. Pierre is a cute butt. That's why they watch, I don't care. I'm sure he doesn't care why they watch either, It's about the ratings, not about why.
Rousey wins by armbar at 4 minutes, 27 seconds in the first round. She is now the Strikeforce bantamweight champion.
Yeah, I'm really happy because I won. I don't really remember that much what goes on in my fights. I have to rewatch them later, So, yeah, like I said earlier, I'm not happy with my wardrobe choice. I'm never going to wear shorts this short again because I remember being in the middle of the fight and thinking, oh my God, my shorts. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I learned so far.
That was the only negative out of the fight, your shorts.
The only negative was my shorts, yeah.
What do you think this says to the critics out there who said that you didn't deserve this? What do you think this right here says to them?
It says they're wrong. What do you want me to say? Yeah.
Okay, just give me a couple minutes here, just talking to the champion. I almost feel like you saved women's MMA here tonight because of this performance, doing it on this stage.
I think I did something very positive for it, and I think there are a lot of girls doing very positive things for it, and I don't think anyone does this single-handedly, but I think this is a big deal. At least for me.
Okay, final question. What does this mean? You dedicated this win to your father, and obviously that's something that is very emotional for you. If you could just sort of put into words, what does this mean considering the fact that prior to the fight, you dedicated the fight to your father, your late father?
Well, I don't know. I just, I feel like what he told me that I could do when I was a kid and when everyone thought that, there was something wrong with me and he was the one that had confidence in me. It's just, I don't know. I feel like I finally fulfilled that, and I kind of feel an inner peace that I didn't have before.
August 18th, 2012. Strikeforce, Rousey versus Kaufman. Rousey defends her belt for the first time against former Strikeforce champion Sarah Kaufman.
A lot of people, really enjoyed your interview on our show. Just a couple, not the first one, you versus Misha, way back when, but after you won the title and Dana White called you. That's one of the greatest moments in the history of our show. I don't know if you remember this.
I remember.
So what did he say to you? You didn't tell us then, but what did he say to you when he called you?
He really just said, good job, oh my God, you're doing awesome, blah, blah, blah. We're going to call you later. So I didn't even know. But, I was such a fan of the sport before any of this happened to get, personal calls from Dana White. Just look at my cell phone to see the words Dana White, coming up on it. I went up to him the other day, and I was like, this is the first time I had the courage to go up and say hello on my own, So I don't know, it's the surrealism of it it's kind of hard to process.
It seems like he really has taken a liking to you. Why do you think he likes you, and why do you think he has now become so open to women's MMA only because of you?
I don't think it's only because of me, but I'm doing whatever I can to make women's MMA seem valuable, profitable for this company. And he's a smart guy, he's a smart businessman, and I think that has something to do with it. The fight's close, and I'm extremely focused on what I need to do, and I don't need to pretend otherwise. People ask me a question, they want to hear my answer. I'm just answering it bluntly. What are you going to try and do to this person? Well, I'm fighting the person. I'm trying to kill them with my bare hands. What do you think? I respect her so much as an athlete that I'm not going to be taking any chances. I've tried being nice to people, and it's come back to bite me in the ass. So if I get her an armbar, I'm getting an armbar to rip that arm off. I said if I get her in a choke, I'm not going to try and tell the referee that she's out. I'm going to choke her until somebody pulls her off me. I'm not going to sit there and have any mercy. If I knock her out, I'm not going to walk away and stroll away from the knockout and think she might shake it off and get up. I'm going to find a way to go there and finish her off, and I'm not going to stop until I'm physically pulled off my opponent. And I was just saying that she should be thanking her lucky stars that MMA is properly regulated, and because the California Athletic Commission is the only thing that's going to keep her alive.
Rousey wins by armbar, just under a minute.
Yeah, I felt like I did pretty decent standing this time compared to last time. I really feel like I'm really young in my career. I've only been pro for a year and a half now, and I'm starting to get a lot more comfortable standing, but I still have way more experience on the ground and with throws than I do with striking. So I don't really see a need to purposely go out of my way to do what doesn't come naturally to me so much. I really think my striking is going great, and I'm happy with how it's going. But I'm always going to revert to what comes naturally to me.
December 6th, 2012. UFC officially anoints Ronda Rousey as the inaugural UFC Women's Bantamweight Champion.
I'm going to make it official right now. The first ever UFC Women's Champion, Ronda Rousey. And I'm presenting her with her belt.
Can you describe what it feels like holding that belt?
It's kind of heavy. I don't know. Like, the weirdest things are passing through my mind when they handed it to me. Like, I was out there and I was like, oh wow, I kind of feel awkward holding it like this. I wonder if I'm flexing my bicep holding this. I wonder if I look really yoked holding this belt. Like, I was these things like running through my mind. I'm like, what did he ask? Oh, like my brain was so scattered and I was just so like the least focused and least articulate I'd ever been. I kind of am a little bit embarrassed actually of how I handled myself up there.
You announced Ronda Rousey as the first ever women's champion in the UFC. What ultimately led you? I mean, you've talked about this in the past, and this is what I find is so interesting. You always said, shallow divisions, and yeah, there are a couple of big fights, but there are a lot of people who are afraid that this is just the Ronda Rousey division. Like, she can lose, a lot of things can happen. Are you committed to women's MMA, or are you just committed to Ronda Rousey?
I'm putting my toe in the water, and I'm checking it out. There's no doubt. For people to say, "Oh, this is the Ronda Rousey," fucking right, it is. You're absolutely right. I'm not trying to shy away from that and say, oh no, we're getting into women's. This is the Ronda Rousey show. Ronda Rousey is a mean, nasty fighter, that the type of fighters that I like. Now, whether she can win and whether she can keep it going, that's up to her. That I have nothing to do with that. And whether it's Liz or any of these other women that beat her, then they're the champ. And then they got to defend their belt. I don't know how long this is going to last. This could last a year. This could be forever. The 135-pound division could fill up and with tons of talent, and we could have tons of great fights. I can't honestly sit here and predict what's going to happen, but don't kid yourself. This is absolutely the only reason this is happening is because of Ronda Rousey.
February 23rd, 2013. UFC 157, Rousey versus Carmouche. Rousey's first opponent in the UFC will be Liz Carmouche, as the main event of UFC 157 at the Honda Center in Anaheim, California.
I don't know if you know this, it hasn't been talked about much. This is actually the first ever women's fight in UFC history.
I didn't know that. Thank you.
It's huge, right? I mean, does that's pretty big.
Yeah.
I think they'd promote that.
I think maybe they would a little bit. It's kind of a big girl power weekend with, Danica doing so well and winning the pole and all that for the first time ever with the women, and women have the first UFC fight. I mean, it's great to have women respected as athletes and covered and pushed and, getting them the coverage they deserve. We work just as hard. We deserve just as much attention and celebration for what we do.
I said she's garnering more. She's got more media attention than any fighter we've ever had in the UFC, and somebody said, Brock Lesnar? I said, yeah, Brock Lesnar too. Real Sports on HBO never did anything on Brock. Time Magazine, Forbes Magazine, the front page of the LA Times. The LA Times has been following her for however long. Front page story of the LA Times today, the USA Today front page of sports and the second page of sports, and the list just goes on and on. We've never had a fighter, Brock Lesnar, Anderson Silva, George St. Pierre, all included, who's had more media attention leading up to a fight than she has.
Rousey defends her belt successfully after an early scare fighting off back control by Carmouche and winning by armbar late in the first round.
Well, for the next week, I'm probably going to fall entirely off the grid as much as I can. And if I see anyone, I'm not going to talk about me at all. There's no more talking about me for a whole week in my house. And I don't want to talk to anybody. I just want to have a week off to kind of be alone in private, if that's all right with everybody. But it's been cool. It's been a lot, though.
That's the other thing, too. When we're talking about the media coverage for this thing, these two girls worked their asses off, selling this fight. They did a great job. I mean, everything that they had to do, they were up at 5 in the morning going to do the media obligations. And it's refreshing having people that go in and do the shit they're supposed to do. I like it.
December 28th, 2013. UFC 168, Weidman vs. Silva 2. Rousey is booked in her first and only rematch of her career. She will be defending her title against rival Miesha Tate as the co-main event.
A lot of people think it's a foregone conclusion you're going to wipe the floor with her, but they say maybe she wasn't 100% focused. Why is this going to be different?
Because I need to prove people wrong about something. I can't just have everyone think it's a foregone conclusion. That doesn't do anything for me. That doesn't get me motivated. I need to have people doubting me, and I needed to create a reason for people to doubt me, because I already won the UFC title and I've already beat Miesha, and so I needed to come up with a way to make it even harder and more difficult for people to be like, is that even really possible? And so, I need to find a way to make sure I'm doing something that's never been done before for every single fight, because that's the only way that I'm really going to fight to my fullest potential.
Do you think you'll be booed on Saturday?
Dude, when I did judo, I was booed in 30 different countries all over the world. I didn't know what a cheer was until I started doing MMA. I spent my entire life being the bad guy. So you know what? Let there be some boos. Let there be people extra excited. Let there be some tension in the crowd. That's what really makes an exciting arena. That's what I want.
The fight ends midway through the third round. Rousey wins by armbar. This would be the first time her opponent makes it out of a first round.
Well, I feel like my biggest challenge I have when I'm fighting is I'm kind of in a rush, in a hurry, because judo matches are only 5 minutes long. So I always kind of feel like I have to get it done within that time period. That's what I'd spent over a decade and a half learning. And so I felt like after that first round ended, then I was still kind of feeling like a little bit antsy because I was in the second round for the first time. And when we got to the third round, I really felt like I wasn't tired, and I was finally learning to be patient, and I accepted, like, okay, this could go 5 rounds, you're winning everything so far. Really pay attention to what you're doing, don't just throw for the sake of it, do everything for a reason. And it really forced me to focus a lot more, and I feel like that's why the third round was when I finally was able to finish it. I feel like that the day that she formally apologizes to my coach Edmund and Chris Beal and they accept that apology, then I will consider shaking her hand again. But I said up there that boos are not more important to me than my family. If I feel like you've done wrong against my family, you need to make that right before I can shake your hand. It means something to me. It's not something I just throw out there.
February 22nd, 2014. UFC 170, Rousey versus McMahon. Rousey is set to face undefeated fellow Olympic medalist Sarah McMahon.
Yeah, it's not so great for me. You know, it works out better for me when people assume that I'm going to be worse as the rounds go on. It works out better for me when people assume that I'm terrible on my back. And these things actually, you know, it works out better for me when people think that my striking is complete garbage, because then these are things that they don't prepare for at all. So then it's actually, it helps me out. There are people to underestimate me. And so, I hope they still find reasons to underestimate me in some areas. But that's why it's kind of nice to have the fights end so quickly and have so little footage for other people to look at and for them to assume what they haven't seen is bad. So I'm kind of slowly losing that advantage over time.
How would you assess your striking now?
Terrible.
Really?
Oh, it's the worst. It's the worst ever. You should just not strike at all the whole camp.
Never.
It's the worst. Never. Oh. Sarah is, you know, on paper she's an amazing athlete, and athletically you could say that we're very close to equals, and that's why people are, you know, so excited about this fight. But I think that I'm more of a fighter than she is. I could tell that this title is not as important it is to her as it is to me. You know, she has a kid at home, and she has to go home to that kid. And I can afford to be selfish where she can't. I'm willing to die in there, and she can't.
In the first of her career, Rousey wins by TKO at 1 minute and 6 seconds into the first round.
Is it a big deal for you to win by another way other than the armbar? So many people talk about the armbar, but I know you've spent a lot of time working on different elements of your, you know, fighting style.
Yeah, I mean, people forget that I won the title the first time a year after my first pro fight. You know, I'm learning still, and I am still. It took a long time for me to really feel like I wasn't just trying to do the judo that I learned ever since I was a kid, and I really feel like I'm more well-rounded as a martial artist. I'm not just looking for one finish. I'm just looking for what's available.
July 5th, 2014. UFC 175, Weidman versus Machida. Rousey's next title defense is against Jiu-Jitsu black belt Alexis Davis.
No, I don't think there's any place where anyone's better than me. That's the kind of attitude that you have to be the best in the world, and I don't know why people are so offended by it. I mean, I have everything to lose, everything that I ever worked for to lose every single time I get out there. And the more accomplishments that pile up, the more that there is at stake with every single fight. It's not like I'm putting money in a retirement fund and no matter what happens, it's still there. With every single accomplishment and every single fight that I take, there's more and more on the line with every single fight. So I have way more to lose than Alexis does. This fight is way more important to me than it is to her. She can't possibly care more than I do, and I know for a fact she doesn't work harder than I do.
Once again, Rousey tops herself by knocking out Davis in only 16 seconds in the opening round.
How do you get motivation to keep going forward when it seems like there's a pretty clear gap between you and the rest of the division?
Well, it only seems like that because I am so motivated already. And if I stopped being motivated, then these fights would probably drag out a lot longer. And I still have a lot of improvements to make still. I want to retire undefeated and be known as one of the greatest of all time. And that takes a lot more work than what I've done so far.
September 27th, 2014. UFC 178, Johnson vs. Cariaso. After going 2-0 in the UFC, Amanda Nunes faces undefeated Kat Zingano on the main card of UFC 178 in Las Vegas.
You've been asking for this fight. You wanted it. You were very vocal about it. Why?
Because Kat #1 top contender. I think I can beat Kat Saturday, and I can have my opportunity to fight for the belt, and then that's the main thing.
You've also been talking a lot about Ronda Rousey. You've been very confident, saying things like you're going to beat her and whatnot. And we haven't heard this from you in the past. Why have you changed your sort of persona, your stance? And it's gotten you a lot of attention. I'm wondering why you decided to do that.
Yes, the many thing, right? Every girls in this weight class wanna be the champion, and then always talk about the Ronda Rousey, of course, because she's the champion. I wanted the belt after this fight. For sure, I needed my opportunity for the belt.
Nunes starts the fight strong, but would go on to lose in the third round by TKO. February 28th, 2015, UFC 184, Rousey vs. Zingano. Rousey is booked as the main event for UFC 184 at Staples Center in Los Angeles against the undefeated Kat Zingano.
And I always feel like I'm just so lucky to work with a company that really, I feel like, actually cares. There's times where they give me more than they're contractually obligated to or what I even expect. And that's why I always trust them so much. If they didn't, even if they didn't ever give me anything extra, I would still be happy because you know what I made as an Olympian? Nothing. It cost me money. It cost me money. I got my first house. I got a car. I'm pretty much, what else do I need? I don't need a private island. My house is paid off. My car is paid off. I just need to buy dog food and pay my taxes. And that's pretty much it, I have no need to want, and the only thing I want to do now is fight. And they've made that possible for me, and I'm eternally grateful. Conscious goal of mine is to be the best fighter in the world. And everything else just comes along with it.
To that end, you have best in the world on your gloves there. Who puts that there for you?
Edmund writes me messages on my rap some days. And this is one of his, he doesn't usually repeat them, but he repeats this one sometimes. And yeah, I like it. I don't know, because I make a lot of money with my hands, and we take a lot of care of my hands, and I think it's kind of dumb for somebody who is on a main event card wrapping their own hands. So I get a professional tape job from I think Edmund's the best rapper in the world, not like, with words. I've never heard him try to rap, but I'm sure his Armenian rap is amazing.
In one of the most jaw-dropping finishes in UFC Championship history, Rousey finishes Zingano by armbar at 14 seconds in the first round. It is the fastest finish in Rousey's career and UFC title fight history.
Staples Center in Los Angeles, 17,654 people, a gate of almost $3 million, and pay-per-view trends have been very nice. It's looking like this is going to be a good pay-per-view. No women in the history of combat sports have ever done anything remotely close to this. And, it's awesome. And coming from the guy who said we'd never do women's MMA, I keep getting kicked in the face with that one.
Where's the stopwatch? Did you time it?
Of course. Ronda Rousey.
That says What does it say?
Well, let's see if nobody hit it.
Well, I got it, but I wanted you to say it.
Well, let's see. 12.83 seconds. You got that? 12.83 seconds. And if somebody says 14 seconds, they're lying. And I'll annihilate, mutilate, assassinate them.
August 1st, 2015, UFC 190, Rousey versus Correia. Rousey is booked for the first time in her career outside the US. She is set to face undefeated Bethe Correia in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. Rousey enters this matchup as a minus 1,700 betting favorite.
I feel like such a NASCAR. Okay, hi. I want to be the first athlete ever to simultaneously have a successful athletic and acting career, and by the time that I'm ready to walk away from fighting, I want to be able to be at a point where I can act full time. And you know, I'm trying my best to get good at it because I'm a white belt in acting, right? I have to work my way up, and hopefully I will be a little bit more progressed by the time I'm ready to do that full time, because I know that when I don't have goals or something to strive for, it's something that it was very, very bad for me when it happened, and I'm not going to make the same mistake twice. I mean, I had real serious issues with my self-image, and I didn't think much of myself for a very long time, and that's why when people say that I'm so cocky and arrogant, I'm just like, I worked for a very, very long time to be able to think well of myself. You know, for me to be able to look myself in the mirror in the morning and be like, you're awesome. That took a while. I didn't just start doing that, you know? But it's really fun, you should try it. You know? But for people to come along and say like, you know what, you need to think less of yourself. I'm like, who are you to tell me that I need to think less of myself? Why does that have anything to do with you? And why are you so offended by me being okay with who I am and actually liking it and having a high opinion of myself? I think that complimenting yourself is the most fun form of manifestation. I'll do it a lot. You know what, I may be sweaty, and I might have forgot that I was gonna do a media today when I got in the car and been like, whatever, I'm not gonna change, but you know what, I think I look awesome right now. You can disagree, whatever, try and dress better.
Rousey wins by KO. She knocks out the Brazilian fighter in only 34 seconds. Ronda Rousey is now undefeated at 12-0, with only one fight leaving the first round, and her last 3 fights going a little over 1 minute combined.
Yeah, I'm really happy, and I think I also proved a lot to myself and everybody else about the diversity of my own fighting style, and I don't think I would have had it go any different way. I'm really happy with today.
November 14th, 2015, UFC 193, Rousey versus Holm. Rousey is back headlining an overseas pay-per-view for the second time in a row, this time against undefeated former boxing champion Holly Holm.
What's up? My goals are so crazy that, like, what I would really like to do, and I don't know if I have, like, the time, and, you know, I just want to do so many things, but I want to be remembered as one of the greatest fighters of all time in any sport, you know? And what I would love to do, I mean, I got an Olympic medal. I would want to retire from MMA as one of the greatest of all time. I would love to have a chance to beat a boxing world champion. I would love to have a chance to beat a jiu-jitsu world champion. And I would love to have a chance to beat the Divas world champion and just be the best of everything at one point. How that is possible to do, that I'm gonna have to figure that out. But I'm trying to figure that out. And, you know, I think if anybody's capable, I think that I am. And I think it's just a matter of prioritizing and timing and figuring out when I can do which when. So I'm figuring it out. I'd love to, but you know, it's a process. As a person, she seems like a very, very nice person. She seems like a sweet girl, and you know, she's the kind of person who, like, after I beat her and she makes a lot of money, I'm like, good for her. You buy yourself an Albuquerque house with that, you know. With like the last chick, I was like, you know, she was a big old bitch, and I kicked her ass. She made a lot of money, and I'm like, oh, well, whatever, you know, like, have fun with that. And but with Holly, I'll genuinely be happy for her, and hope that she has, you know, she accepts her loss in a healthy way, and
enjoys all the benefits that she got from this fight, and probably, you know, I think that she'll really enjoy her life a lot more, you know, not, you know, the life of a champion, I think, isn't for everybody, and I think that the life of a contender it's a lot nicer in a lot of ways, and I think that a lot of these girls don't realize until they're the contender and they get all that extra pressure put on that they don't really want that life. And I think you know, this kind of environment isn't what Holly would like, and you know, I hope that she takes the money that she gets for losing and has a great life that she would like a lot more than this one.
I just wanted to get in her face and show her that I was there for a reason. She's the one that put the fist on my face. I didn't touch her. She's the one that touched me, and I told her that fake sweet act is, I see right through it. I really do. It was all fake. All until now. All that respect, all that everything, all you being sweet. I see right now that it's fake, and you're going to get it on Sunday. You're not the first person that thought that you had the perfect plan to beat me. It's not the first time your camp thought that they had the perfect plan to beat me. I'm going to show you on Sunday why I'm the champ.
Good luck to you, man. The champ, ladies and gentlemen, Ronda Rousey.
Holly Holm wins by knockout in the second round and is now the UFC Bantamweight champion. Ronda Rousey loses for the first time in her MMA career. March 5th, 2016, UFC 196, Mcgregor vs. Diaz. In what is believed to be a #1 contender match, Amanda Nunes faces Valentina Shevchenko on the main card of blockbuster UFC 196.
For you, do you think that, given the fact that maybe Ronda will be out for a while, that you'll be the #1 contender if you win this fight? Have you been told that by the UFC?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to finish fast that I can, you know, knock her out or on the ground, submit her, and even go to the 3 rounds, but it's looking good in the fight, you know, and I think after that, I have my title shot.
Finally.
Finally.
Yeah. You won't accept anything else?
Anything else?
Nothing?
Nothing. Title shot, please.
Nunes wins a decision. Later that same night, Holly Holm loses her title to Miesha Tate. July 9th, 2016, UFC 200, Tate vs. Nunes. After a bizarre series of circumstances, the main event for UFC 200 is champion Miesha Tate vs. Amanda Nunes. Nunes finishes Tate off in the first round. Amanda Nunes is the new Women's UFC Bantamweight champion.
My plan for this fight was working my patience. You know, me and my coach, my whole camp, working my patience. I know the whole time I have everything to beat Miesha. And only, you know, take my time, wait for the best moment. I did it tonight.
And does it make you proud to be the first openly gay champion in the history of UFC?
This is amazing. The more important, I'm happy with my life. This is the more important thing.
UFC 207, Nunes vs. Rousey. Amanda Nunes will make the first defense of her bantamweight title against former champion Ronda Rousey. After a year away from the cage, Rousey is finally making her return to fighting at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada, on December 30th, 2016.
And her opponent, Amanda Nunes! A massive opportunity for you to fight the most famous women's fighter in the history of the sport. Give us your thoughts on this opportunity to defend your title.
She's the fight that I asked for. I trained for this girl my whole career in UFC, and now I have a chance to defend my belt against her. It's gonna be amazing. You guys ready for this battle? Oh yeah.
Good luck to you, ma'am. I can't wait for December 30th. Amanda Nunes, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you all tomorrow night.